Today, we will cover the specific steps to relocate your existing company, which might be a corporation, LLC, or subchapter S entity, from its existing state to a new state via the legal process of redomestication. But first, a brief introduction. My name is Chad Cummings, and I am an attorney and certified public accountant serving clients in matters of business, tax, and commercial law throughout the states of Florida and Texas. I am Chief Executive Officer of the multi state, multi attorney law firm Cummings and Cummings Law. And in addition to my day job, I also teach business and tax law at the university level. I hold 4 degrees, including 2 law degrees, as well as a bachelor's degree in accounting and a master's degree in taxation, in addition to 11 professional licenses and certifications spanning accounting, tax, audit, and of course, the law. My firm website is www.cummings.law. Now, I have described the advantages of redomestication in my earlier presentations, including, among others, maintaining existing contracts with customers and vendors, keeping your existing federal employer identification number or EIN, and eliminating any operational or financial downtime while keeping your business bank accounts and in most cases, your business name. And if it sounds too good to be true, I promise you it is not. We've got this down to a science. Today's presentation will focus on how to complete this process on my website step by step. So I'm going to do a share screen. Bear with me just a sec. There we go. And you should be able to see my screen here. All right. www.redomesticate.com, also accessible on my website at cummings.law, will take you to this page. Now, this page is a wealth of information, a lot of explainer videos, evidence of our prior success rate, which by the way is 100%. As you can see, we have awesome Google reviews across the board. I give you a comparison of how our process works relative to other law firms, as well as non-attorney online filing services like LegalZoom and Rocket Lawyer, which by the way, do not actually perform redomestications, which is kind of funny, considering they advertise for it, as well as a general guide. So certainly you can peruse this at your convenience, but our focus today is on the procedural and mechanical aspects. So simple enough. I'm going to input the name of my company, not very imaginative, but let's call it Test Company. And I'm going to click this flashing button right below the text box. That's going to take me to the next step. By the way, this entire process on my website takes less than 5 minutes. As you will see, it's intended to be fairly straightforward, or at least as straightforward as we can make it. So next, I'm going to select my type of entity. Maybe I have an LLC, maybe I have an S Corp. We'll stick with LLC, as well as my prior state. Now, I get a lot of folks moving from frankly, all over the place. We got folks coming from New York, Maryland, Illinois, a lot of folks coming from California, really all over the United States. But let's make it simple. We'll use California. And here I select my new state. Now, right now, we only practice law in certain jurisdictions. Okay, so if you're trying to move your existing business to a jurisdiction where we do not practice law, my recommendation is for you to contact the state bar in your new home state, and they will provide you with a referral. So let's say I'm moving my business to, let's make it Texas, and let's say I have a couple of owners, or maybe I just have one owner, so we'll leave it as one owner for now. I'll click next. And by the way, if at any point you have questions or you want to talk with me directly, not an assistant, not a paralegal, not a go-between, but a duly licensed attorney and CPA, just click schedule a free consultation. That will give you direct access to my calendar. You put some time on my calendar, I give you a call, we talk it through. Some folks find that helpful. Others, after viewing my videos, including this video, find it simple enough and they just complete the process on my site. So while certainly you are welcome to schedule a consult, it is not required. If you feel that you have a grasp of the process after reviewing the information in this presentation, as well as the information on my website, you're more than welcome to complete the process as I am demonstrating to you now, and we will get the ball rolling. Again, if it sounds too good to be true, it's not. Buckle up. We're going to move on to the next step. I click next, and I put in some basic information, right? Name, nothing too complicated here. My phone number. Now, if I know my federal employer identification number and or my California state ID number, I would input these here. Not required. Not required. Please don't waste your time trying to shuffle through old paperwork or find, for example, certificates of good standing. There's so much misinformation online by well-intentioned but under-informed CPAs and even many attorneys who simply do not understand this process, even if they know it exists at all, and in many cases they do not. So we cut out all of the busy work, so to speak, and this form actually captures all the information I require. Now, I need your address in Texas. All right, if you have an address in Texas, and that is going to serve as your mailing address, your physical address, as well as the address for your registered agent, great. By all means, put it in here. I'm just going to put some basic information in here. Alternatively, if you prefer, you can hire us for a certain amount every year, as you will see on the workflow, and you can use our address, the benefit of which is to keep your address out of the public records, which is particularly beneficial if you are privacy focused. So I click next. Moving right along here, we're almost done. Now, our prices do fluctuate quite a bit by season and demand. So the numbers you see may be a little bit different than you're seeing in this video. Don't get too fixated on that. Sometimes our prices are higher, sometimes they're lower, but we are pretty busy year round with this work. So you validate your information. You will see a breakdown line item detail with all of the costs and fees. Now, I frequently get on the phone with folks and they tell me how much, or they ask me, how much does this cost? And I say, well, great news. It's all right here on my website. We do not hide the ball. Frankly, we don't need to, and I don't want to waste your time. So you get the state imposed filing costs, which in Texas are $600. And of course, these fees and amounts will vary by state. You have your California filing costs. Then you have a breakdown of the scope of work, right? Here's what I'm doing for you. I'm preparing a certificate of conversion and a certificate of formation to file in remember, in our example, we're using Texas, although it could be a different state, as well as the legal plan of conversion. Good luck finding a template for that online. You will not. And if you do, you don't want to use it. As well as the board meeting minutes or unanimous written consent to formally adopt, approve, and ratify that legally binding plan of conversion, and the statement of conversion that we will prepare and file on your behalf with the former state. That's what we're doing. Let me tell you what we're not doing, at least as part of this flat fee. We are not preparing and filing any tax returns or tax documents. Why not? Because I have found that most business owners already have a tax accountant or CPA that they know and trust that can handle that scope of work for them more cost effectively, and they don't like paying for something twice. And frankly, who would? During the process, I handle any correspondence with the secretaries of state on your behalf. We do everything by DocuSign when we can, so electronic signatures, no snail mail whenever we can avoid it. At no additional charge, I send you weekly status updates by email. And of course, you have the opportunity for a telephone consultation should you desire. Now, with all of that in mind, you'll see our costs and fees. There are some additional services here. Again, you may not need them. If you want information, you click on info, you'll get a brief description. In most instances, business owners either don't need these services, or if they do, they choose to handle them on their behalf. So no worries there. Let me talk a little bit about timing, and I touched on this in my earlier presentations, but timing is highly variable. So if timing is a factor, and of course, we get everything sent off as soon as we get your signatures, but we, of course, in most cases, cannot control the speed with which the respective secretaries of state process documents, unless you elect to expedite at additional charge, in which case I could have my agent hand walk the documents through for approval. Sometimes I get on the phone with people and they say, oh, just send me the documents. I'll walk them through. And I usually laugh and hang up, because that tells me you don't quite know the complexity we're dealing with here. I say that as a joke, right? I'm not trying to hurt anybody's feelings, but it is complicated stuff. That's our bread and butter, though. As I said, we've got this down to a science. If I have a promo code, I'll put it here. Most of the time, we're not running promotions, but sometimes we do. I click next. Again, validating all the information. You'll see the total price, which again may be different. I need you to read this information here, right? Please read the following, blah, blah, blah. And I say blah, 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 but it's actually quite important. You can click here to see the letter of engagement, which you need to read before proceeding, because it outlines exactly what I'm doing and what I'm not doing, which is exactly what I just said, but it's all there in black and white, just confirming basic understandings and assumptions. If I'm on board with all of that, so to speak, I scroll down, I input my payment information. Now, we are flexible on payment. We take credit, debit, Amazon Pay, Google Pay, crypto, Apple Pay, and we also accept Klarna, which is a pay over time option. Now, certainly, this is not the cheapest service in the world, but then again, why would you want to hire a cheap attorney? It's like trying to hire a cheap laser eye surgeon. Good luck with that. But I digress. You input your payment information here. You click submit payment. What happens next? You get a confirmation email directly from me. And throughout this process, by the way, when you do have questions, concerns, feedback, whatever, you're emailing me directly. You're not emailing some anonymous, shared mailbox or some person overseas. No offense to people overseas. I got a lot of friends over there. But bottom line, you're communicating and corresponding directly with me from start to finish. So you will receive that email confirmation. Great. It includes a summary of all the information and form fields that you completed on my site, as well as a copy of the signed engagement letter, which is obviously important, as that's the contract between you and me saying Chad is going to perform this scope of work and at these fees and these costs, which again you see before you input your payment information here. From then, I do ask that you give me 2 or 3 working days to prepare and present the information to you by DocuSign for your electronic review and approval. If you have questions at that point or at any point, let me know. I'm here to answer your questions. That's what you're paying a professional for. As soon as I get your signatures, I have everything packaged and ready to send off to the Secretary of State. Now, as I mentioned before, processing times vary quite a bit. In Texas, we typically see about 2 weeks. In Florida, we typically see 6 to 8 weeks, unless we are expediting. I do send you status updates by email every single week without exception, even when I'm on vacation, which is pretty rare. As soon as we get that approval from the new state, I will already have everything ready to send off and will, in fact, send it off to your former jurisdiction. Again, processing times are highly variable. That does take some additional time there. And as soon as we get that approval, which again may take a couple of days or a couple of months, depending on the state. Some states like Maryland can take as long as 3 months. Others are quite a bit faster. I will have a checklist detailing your go-forward obligations in your new jurisdiction, which you will then provide to your tax accountant or CPA. And at that point, our legal working engagement will be completed. As I said, we have a 100% success rate. We have a 120% money back guarantee on your legal fees that you pay me. We've completed a lot of these. I'm not going to give you a number because every time I give the number, it goes up literally every day. But all that information and the updated facts and figures are on my website. In any event, I hope that you found this information helpful. or at least not confusing. I'm going to stop the share screen. If you have any questions regarding redomesticating your existing LLC or corporation to a new jurisdiction, please use the link in the description below for more information on this process and to schedule time for us to chat about your specific situation. But as I said before, if you're ready to move forward, don't let me slow you down. You've got the link right here. You can complete the process on your own good time, which should take about 5 minutes, maybe less if you are a fast typist. Again, my name is Chad Cummings. As I said, I hope you found this information helpful. As always, the information in this presentation is general in nature and is not legal advice, because legal advice, by definition, must be specific to a particular set of facts and circumstances. Should you have any questions regarding this information or the content of any of my earlier presentations, please visit my firm website at www.cummings.law to schedule time for a consultation. I look forward to the opportunity to speak with and perhaps even work with you very soon.